Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. So today we're going to be talking about how government and other unforeseen forces have oppressed Black people, probably from what you'd say since the early Americas up until now.
The topic was brought up because we were just having a normal discussion about the Breakfast Club interview with
Larry Elder.
So we was talking about that, and even though me personally, I agreed with a lot of the stuff that Larry Elder said, there were some things that I couldn't agree with, and that's kind of where this topic was spurred on. And I guess we're just going to elaborate on some of the things we were talking about.
I personally don't think that there is any unforeseen forces that hold Black people back. I think it's honestly at this point more so in your own head sometimes, because there are really a lot of opportunities for anybody and everybody out there. You just kind of have to seek them out. So go ahead, talk about one of the things that you say keep Black people oppressed.
Okay, now I mentioned this in a previous video, but I believe the term is called redlining. And that's where there is a imaginary boundary drawn around certain cities that if you live within that city zip code or whatnot, that I guess you could say you're automatically going to pay a high price. You're going to pay a high price in taxes, a high price in car insurance. And we all know, let's just be honest, cars are a big thing. I mean, they get us to and from work. So the less money you have to spend on insurance, the more money you can put towards other things. Do you disagree?
That is true, but there are other cities in which taxes hit hard too. It just really depends on the area. Now, one thing I will say it's different is that typically in those other cities, there's more money being made by the people that live there. You know, we got cities where probably the average income is at least 6 figures. So they pay more too, just like how people in the city would have to, but just for different reasons. Like people in the city pay high taxes because of crime. People in those areas pay high taxes because of just the beauty, the safety, and the probably better hospitalization and rescue teams, fire departments, police departments. I mean, you're paying for better schools. So it's like one of those things where they got high taxes too, but just for different reasons. So I think it just really depends on where you live.
Well, I'm glad you brought up crime, because somebody told me that the reason why people who live in Detroit pay a much higher car insurance is due to the crime rate. It doesn't seem like just by you stepping out your house and crossing the street will make the crime rate drop drastically, and then your car insurance drops drastically. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it should be that big of a difference in drop just by going across the street, but I mean,
you're right. I mean, you're right. As far as borders go, you know, that's probably an unfair situation, but it's not a whole lot you can do, really. I mean, we're not the ones that make those rates.
Quite common in Black communities is that there are few sources of good, healthy food. I mean, let's be honest, there's like fast food restaurants like all within Detroit. Just pretty much you can probably travel 2 blocks and you'll find a fast food restaurant or whatnot. But for a grocery store that sells good organic food or whatnot, I mean, you won't find too many. And the grocery stores that you do find, they charge a much higher price than places like Myers or Kroger's.
They charge a higher price because there's no competition in that area.
Exactly.
So it's like, you know, they have the right to charge whatever they charge because no one else is willing to put businesses out there. And why? Well, mainly due to crime rate, and maybe also due to the lack of funds. Like most of the time in those little itty bitty stores, another reason why they charge so much is because their main source of income is probably government funds. And I'm talking about those little mini mart type stores in the hood. I feel like the majority of the people that shop there are the WIC users and the welfare users, because people who have like a lot more money aren't doing their big grocery shop at those stores. So if you're doing a big grocery shop at a hood store, it's more than likely because you live in that area, you don't have transportation, and you're getting WIC or food stamps, some form of government assistance that allows you to not spend your own money. That's why you can fill up your grocery basket and feel like, you know.
You just said it. I mean, even though there's no competition, do you really have to charge, I mean, practically an arm and leg, because there's nobody who can compete with you? And the ones who's forced to suffer are the ones who's at their mercy, the people with without transportation and that can't really go far out and get food.
Well, if it weren't for the crime rate, which is the people's own fault in that particular location, people would be more willing to put healthier options there. There could be a vegan grocery store, put here, or a Zerbos or something. But because of the crime rate, a lot of people aren't willing to invest that money.
Yes, but that doesn't mean everybody should pay just because, what should I say? Not everybody's a criminal. I mean, I'm not a criminal. You're not a criminal.
But we would probably, okay, let me just put it like this. Don't you think we'd be like the only people shopping at like a Trader Joe's if it was around here? I mean, you'd have a few other people, but do the people in these low income areas who frequent these fast food restaurants and probably have low key addictions to that fake sugar, do you think that those people would be willing to eat healthy and go to those Zerbos, or do you think they'd continue to go to the KFC and Popeyes and McDonald's?
You know what? I think that they should have the choice to, rather than just being subjected to, this is the only thing that will allow you to do, stay in your bubble, eat this trash food, and pay these high prices.
But whose fault is it? Can't somebody from within the neighborhood, once they learn to invest and build an income, can't they come back to the area that they originally came from that was impoverished and build one of these health food grocery stores so that it's easily accessible to the neighborhood folks? Why can't a black person do that? Why are we waiting for some other race of person to put what we need in our city?
You know what? That brings up a good point, and that. I guess that can go into our next thing, because, like I said, I feel black people. Again, I agree with Larry, but I still feel there are some systems in place to place black people, what should I say, under their thumb, or place us in poverty or whatnot. And like you said, one of the things is, this is something that I've been questioning ever since I was a little kid. But growing up in Detroit, I didn't see too many black-owned businesses, and if it was a business that a black person was running, they more than likely didn't own the actual building that they was running it from. They were more than likely leasing or whatnot. But I always wonder, why is it that around Detroit I see so many other races besides black people in a predominantly black neighborhood? You got Arabic people. You got Arabic people. They own the gas stations, liquor stores, the Asian people, their Chinese food restaurants, their beauty supply stores. Hey, I remember I went into one store, the Asian owner who was working there was freaking a bald-headed Asian guy. He's not using the products. But,
exactly.
But yeah, and I just wondered, is it easier for them to get these business grants and loans because they're applying for them in a black community? This is just my conspiracy. Do they make the stipulations to get these loans way less because it's where are you having this business at? I'm having it in Sterling Heights. Denied. I'm having it in Detroit. Oh, sure, no problem. Approved. We'll throw in a little extra on us. I don't know. I just I'm a conspiracist person. That could be the case. It might not be the case.
It could be, and I guess we'll never have any proof. And I'm not going to not say that there's some level of governmental influence. I mean, of course, when it comes to who approves these permits and sets these allocations for commercial property or whether it's going to be residential, we're not the people who do it. It has to do with government. And so they know that there's no need for all these liquor stores, but yet they're approving for these businesses to be had. And a lot of times, they're also the people that sell a few grocery items that they overcharge at outrageous prices for the neighborhood people who are living on the welfare and the government assistance and having to spend up all what little bit of money they get at these stores. So they're profiting on black people, and we have to start to ask ourselves, whose fault is it anyway? I mean, we could, as a people, boycott these locations and purposefully go to only black-owned businesses. Now, for the most part, black-owned businesses, we see a lot of boutiques, we see a lot of hair salons, we see a lot of barbershops, we see a lot of soul food restaurants, which is good. Food is definitely the way to go. We see Caribbean places and Jamaican restaurants, stuff like that. But what about the high-earning properties, for instance, gas stations? Why aren't black people buying up these locations and monopolizing the gas and the money so that it can't be taken by other races and it can be put back into the city to make it a better place?
You know what? Again, I think that, again, yes, I believe a lot of us don't qualify for loans. I can admit that. Like me, even though I have good credit, I've had quite a few of my friends who have just terrible credit. So I can admit that. But at the same time, I still feel like I can't imagine out of like so many black people that all of us just got bad credit, and none of us want to go into business for ourselves. None of us want to own gas stations. I just can't believe that. And me personally, I feel that maybe they make the stipulations. Again, this is me being a conspiracist, and just me being a conspiracist. They make the stipulations higher for black people. And then you mentioned restaurants, how they put addictive chemicals in their food to make you addicted to them. And this goes into another one of my conspiracy things, that it's a lot of unhealthy people amongst us black people. And I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of it stems from our unhealthy eating habits. The fact that we don't have those good Zerbos, or those stores that sell like organic food like in our communities or whatnot, and it's cheaper to even go to a fast food restaurant than it is to buy food at even Kroger's or Myers. I mean, the incentive, okay, it's cheap food, it'll fill me up, let me get it. Although the downside is that it's going to have a major impact on your health, and not in the best way. But I mentioned this earlier. Another thing that I feel is being used, besides them attacking black people's health, liquor stores. Now, I don't know how much a liquor license is, but I've heard they're pretty expensive. So how is it that other places have zoning laws to maybe put just one liquor store, maybe two liquor stores, but here, just in my area alone, there's an equivalent of about 5 liquor stores within a 1 mile radius. I'll say a mile to a mile and a half radius, and it's all really on one street, just walking down.
Well, what's sad to say, and I'm a firm believer in supply and demand. There's a reason there's 5 liquor stores, and it's because there's a large enough demand for that much supply. So in other words, we got a lot of alcoholics around here.
But here's the thing. I'll say the chicken and the egg fit theory. Like, who came first, the liquor store or the alcoholic?
No problem. Exactly. I mean, even when prohibition was going on, people were finding a way to get access to things.
But you know what? I also found out that when you limit the access to things, not everybody is going to be able to get access to stuff. They put a lot of liquor stores in the black community to help keep the black community delirious, like just in a stupor.
Drunken stupor.
So yeah, so that they really don't, I'm not gonna say they have no control, but it's like they're not even focusing on what's going on around them, or just in the world period. They're just focused on alcohol and getting their next drink.
One of the last things that I wanted to kind of bring up today that I feel like we as a community, black community, can make a change on is we know that a lot of the black dollars are being exploited by these other races who are overcharging and monopolizing the higher earning businesses in whatever city. We can just use Detroit, for instance. It's notoriously known for having a high black population. And there are some black businesses, but in my opinion, they're not the kind that typically take off. Like, you might see a small boutique, like I said, or like a hair salon or barbershop or something like that, or a restaurant. But what about the high earning businesses, a franchise, or like, what else were we saying? Like the gas stations. Why can't the black people own stuff like that? Things that will actually garner a lot of money, and they would be a black owned business. So if the black people just boycotted the other places and everybody stuck together, made a decision to go to this black owned business, then we can truly make a difference. I think black people have to definitely come together if they're really going to have some financial success and power. I mean, even in a family sense, you can recognize that having 2 incomes or 3 incomes is better than 1.
Definitely.
You guys definitely leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. What changes can be made, if any need to be made at all. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time.